She didn't say a single word. And somehow, that was enough to make a billionaire cry in the middle of a restaurant full of people. Most people walk into a restaurant and just want their food fast. They look right through the waitress. They don't ask her name. They don't wonder about her story. She's just the person holding the notepad. But what if the person holding that notepad was carrying something so rare, so quietly powerful? That one moment, one single moment, would change the lives of everyone sitting at that table forever? That's exactly what happened the night a shy waitress named Clara walked up to the wrong table at the right time. Clara was 24 years old. She worked double shifts at a high-end restaurant in Manhattan called the Whitmore, the kind of place where the tablecloths cost more than her rent. She kept her head down, did her job well, and almost nobody noticed her. She was shy. Not rude, just quiet. The kind of person who blends into the background without even trying. On a cold Tuesday evening in November, a man named Daniel Holt walked in. If you looked him up, you'd find his name on the Forbes list. Real estate, tech investments, the kind of wealth that makes other rich people feel poor. He was dressed simply, though. Dark jacket, no watch showing. The way truly wealthy people sometimes dress when they don't need to prove anything. With him was a woman in her late 70s. Silver hair, pearl earrings, a soft smile that looked like it had survived 100 hard years. That was his mother, Margaret. She had been deaf since she was 32 years old, the result of a rare condition that took her hearing slowly, then all at once. Daniel had taken his mother to the Whitmore because it was her birthday. He wanted everything to be perfect. He had made a special note in the reservation. His mother was deaf. "Please be patient." The host passed the message along. Most of the staff nodded and moved on. What were they supposed to do with that information anyway? Clara was assigned to their table. She walked over, notepad in hand, and looked at Margaret. And then something shifted. Instead of turning to Daniel, to take orders the way most people do when they're with someone who is deaf, which, by the way, is one of the most quietly disrespectful things you can do. Clara looked directly at Margaret, and she raised her hands. She signed in American Sign Language, "Happy birthday. You look beautiful tonight." The table went completely still. Margaret's eyes went wide. Her hand flew to her mouth. Because here's what you have to understand. When you are deaf in a world built for hearing people, you spend most of your life being talked around. People speak to whoever is with you. They hand menus to your companion. They address someone else when you are the one sitting right there. It happens every single day. You become invisible without anyone meaning to make you that way. And then, out of nowhere in a fancy Manhattan restaurant, a young waitress who was supposed to just take your order looks you in the eye and speaks your language. Not because she had to, not because anyone told her to, but because she chose to see you. Margaret started crying, just like that, quiet tears rolling down her face. Daniel stared at Clara. He had no words. He had spent years making sure his mother was taken care of. The best doctors, the best home, the best everything, but he could not give her this. He didn't know sign language. Let that sit for a second. He loved his mother more than anything in the world, and they had never once had a real conversation, without a notebook or a phone, screen between them. And this stranger, this quiet, unnoticed waitress, just walked up and did what he had never been able to do. He asked Clara how she knew sign language. She told him simply that her younger brother was born deaf. She learned to sign when she was 7 years old so she could talk to him. She had been signing for 17 years. It wasn't a skill she showed off. It was just something she knew, something she used at home with her family and almost nowhere else. Except tonight. They talked, or rather Daniel and Clara talked, while Clara signed everything to Margaret, for almost 2 hours. Not just about food, about life, about what it felt like to grow up with a deaf sibling, about the way silence isn't really silence when you know how to fill it with your hands. Margaret told Clara through signs and tears that this was the best birthday she'd had in 20 years. Clara smiled and said she was just doing her job. But she wasn't, and everyone in that restaurant knew it. Now here's where the story takes a turn that nobody expected. 3 weeks later, Clara got a call from an unknown number. It was Daniel's assistant. Daniel wanted to meet with her. Not at the restaurant. At his office. She almost didn't go. She thought it was strange, but she went. Daniel offered her a job, not as a waitress. As the head of a new internal communications program he was building inside his company, program designed to make his workplace fully accessible for deaf and hard-of-hearing employees. He had been planning it for months, but he didn't have the right person to lead it. He did now. Clara's salary more than tripled overnight. But here's what Daniel said to her that she later shared in an interview. And this is the part that really gets people. He told her, "I have hired hundreds of smart people, but I have never once hired someone who made my mother feel seen. That is a skill you cannot teach, and it is worth more than any degree on a wall." She took the job. The program launched 8 months later. By the end of its first year, Daniel's company had hired over 60 deaf and hard of hearing employees, had interpreters on staff full-time, and had become one of the first companies in its industry to receive an award from the National Association of the Deaf for workplace accessibility. All of it, every single piece of it, started because a shy waitress decided not to look away. There's a study from Harvard that found most people make a decision about whether they care about someone within the first 7 seconds of meeting them. 7 seconds. And in most of those moments, people choose not to care. It's not cruelty. It's just habit. We move fast. We have things to do. We don't stop to wonder who the other person is or what language their heart speaks. Clara stopped. That's all she did. She stopped and she looked and she used what she had. And here's the thing about that. You don't have to know sign language to do what Clara did. You just have to be willing to see people, really see them. Not past them, not around them, at them. The way Margaret deserved to be seen on her birthday. The way every single person walking through your day deserves, even for just a moment. Most of us are walking around with skills, experiences, and pieces of our story that we've never thought to use outside the place we learned them. Clara learned sign language at her kitchen table when she was 7 years old. She used it in a Manhattan restaurant 17 years later and changed the direction of her life forever. You never know which part of your story is the one someone else has been waiting for. And if nobody's told you that lately, somebody should have. If this story got to you, the next video on your screen right now is going to hit just as hard. Don't skip it.